Hello everyone, this is Ryan from the ProfitTrailer team, and most of you may know me on the Discord official support server as RF Radio. For this video I'm going to be showing you the Anderson DCA strategy and how to set it up in your DCA file. So right now I have got on my screen here the ProfitTrailer Wiki. This is the best place to start for understanding the Anderson DCA strategy. So if you need to find this page, it's on if you go to the ProfitTrailer Wiki and scroll down to trading and click this link here that says Anderson DCA, that will bring you to this page. So if you're first unclear about what DCA is, please go and view the What is DCA video on the ProfitTrailer YouTube channel. That will give you a good overview of what DCA is and how it works before we get into this. The Anderson strategy, however, is very similar to the martingale format. Except that instead of having a fixed buy trigger point, you have a defined buy trigger point for every step. Okay, you can change how far the coin value drops. So just as a recap of DCA, what's going to happen is that after your initial buy, as the coin drops in value, the bot will attempt to rebuy that coin after it has reached its buy trigger point, after it reaches a certain percentage drop from its average value before it's going to rebuy. So in the case of Anderson, I'll show you how I have this set up in a DCA file here as an example. So for your buy strategy, you're going to use Anderson. Your buy style is going to be double down. Your buy trigger 1, this is the first point at which it's going to try and rebuy the coin after your initial purchase of it in the pairs settings. So basically what happens is on this buy trigger we have set here 3.5%, right? Negative 3.5%. After your initial buy, it's going to wait for the coin value to drop by 3.5%, and then it's going to look to try and buy. It's going to factor in your trailing buy. So if you're not familiar with what trailing buy is, please go over to that video and review it before getting into this. So it is going to factor trailing buy on every buy it does. So your buy trigger 1, say it drops 3.5% in value, it goes ahead, does the trailing successfully, and rebuys. Then you're going to have it wait, and if it drops again in value, your next buy trigger 2. Okay, on this example, I have it set to negative 4.5. This is essentially the same as what's on the ProfitTrailer Wiki, just so you know. So when it drops 4.5% in value from the average price, which would be the average between your initial buy and buy trigger 1 purchase, that's going to try and rebuy, factoring in trailing buy again. So each successive rebuy after buy trigger 1 is buying it at the average price of the coin, based on all of your buys since your initial buy. Okay, so it factors in all of those previous buys to an average price. And that's what it's going to look for. It's going to base it off of the average price. It's going to look for the percent drop from the average and then factor your trailing buy in before it buys again. Alright, it's going to keep doing this until it runs out of buys that it can do. Now, how you do that is you specify max buy times here at the top. And this one's set to 5, so it's best to actually define all 5 of your buy triggers. If you don't define all of them, it won't work properly. Not to mention, you can have as many buy triggers as you want here. Don't think you're limited to just 5. If you've got the balance to support it, you can do as many as you want. Also, your max cost here at the top. Keep this in mind. This is not exactly the same as the pairs file. Okay, this is not the cost of each rebuy. What this is going to set is the total amount of your base currency that you're trading in that your bot will be allowed to use per coin for the total amount of DCA that it can do. Okay, so it's going to try and use whatever you set here as the maximum amount for all 5 buy triggers, if you're using 5 like this setup is, or the however many buy triggers you have. It needs to be set for the maximum amount allowable for all of the buys total. All right, you can define this in a percentage like this. So max cost percentage, and you can set it as much as you need, 10, 20% of your balance, or what have you, or however much you calculate you will need. The min buy balance is just the same as it is in the pairs file, and you can also define this as a percentage. My general rule of thumb is when I'm using DCA, if I'm going to set in my pairs file a min by balance percentage, I generally keep it 80 to 60%, anywhere in that range, okay, for your pairs file. And then here on DCA, I use 10 to 20% minimum buy balance percentage. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to keep back that percentage in your balance. It's not going to allow the bot to trade with, okay? So this is just telling the bot how much it's not allowed to use out of your balance, okay? You can even set it to 0 if you want. If you want to use your whole balance, go for it. That's up to you. The other settings here are similar to the pairs, like your sell strategy is going to function essentially the same, except for sell trigger on gain, it won't work. It's the same as doing min profit, which is only for high BB. So your sell value in trailing profit for gain will work correctly. You can use high BB as your sell strategy here too, and you can set a sell trigger if that's the case. If you're using max buy spread, oops, this messed up on me here. The max buy spread here is the same as it is in the pairs file, and so is your, oh man, this is jumping. Min buy volume, that's also the same as in your pairs file. Then your stop loss trigger is also going to function the same as the pairs file, except that it will have to wait until you've either completed all of your buy triggers or you don't have enough balance to complete all 5 buy triggers or however many buy triggers you have. So whichever one's the case, once you are unable to DCA further, then the stop loss trigger will be initiated if you have it set. Pending order wait time is the same as the pairs file if you wanted to put something over into your pending log. And the two functions here that are not the same as the pairs file are your buy available volume trigger and ignore sell only mode. Okay, buy available volume trigger. What this is looking for the percentage of your calculated next buy that the bot will do in order to make sure that there's enough volume in the sell order book on that market in order to complete it. So I generally set mine to 125. That means it's going to look to make sure there's at least 125% of what I need to buy for my next DCA on the sell order book before it will buy. And I did forget to mention, every time this executes a new buy for DCA, it's going to double the amount that you're holding of that coin. So it's going to buy the same amount as what you're currently holding of that coin. Alright? So it will increase very rapidly. So that buy available volume trigger is critical if you don't want to end up with partial fills. It's still possible you could end up with partial fills, but it's a lot less likely if you use at least 100% for your buy available volume trigger, and I tend to pad it a little bit. I go at least 110 to 125% for the buy available volume trigger. Also, the last one, the ignore sell only mode. That is to tell the bot that if it goes into sell only mode for whatever reason, if you have this flag set to true, the DCA will ignore the fact you're in sell only mode and continue to do DCA buys. Okay, if you have it set to false, it'll act like the rest of the bot in sell only mode, and it will not rebuy even if the coins are dropping in value past your trigger points. Okay, so I think that is it for the Anderson strategy. And if you need some extra help, go ahead and consult the wiki first, and we can also provide you some help over on the Discord support server. So, as always, happy trading, and we will see you on the next video. If you have any questions or are in need of further support, please visit the ProfitTrailer wiki, and if it does not answer all of your questions, come on over to the ProfitTrailer official support server at the link displayed on your screen.